What do you need to know about living in Charlotte, North Carolina? Whether you've already decided on moving to our city or if you're still in the deciding phase, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about living in Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Milena. I'm a local realtor here, and I actually relocated to Charlotte myself many years ago. And now I specialize in helping people relocate here. So I can tell you from a professional and a personal standpoint all of the important information that you'll want to consider before moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. From housing to the economy to all of those extra important things that you'll want to consider, we are going to talk about. So let's start with a quick backstory. So back in the 19th and 20th century in Charlotte, we were a textile trading hub. We had several prominent textile mills throughout this area, and villages were built around the mills. They were called mill villages. And this really shaped the early stages of our city and our economy. However, towards the latter part of the 20th century, we saw a shift. So it was cheaper to produce textiles outside of the US, new technology came in, and mill jobs became obsolete. So mills started to shut down naturally. And in fact, there's still an abandoned mill town under what we now call Lake Norman. But as all of this is happening, the driving forces in Charlotte at the time were taking notes. And they were smart enough and lucky enough to know that we needed to start diversifying our economy. And this is when banking came in. North Carolina, especially Charlotte, has some really bank-friendly laws and regulations. And we started to become the headquarters for some of the biggest banks in the United States. In fact, as of today, we are the second largest banking capital in the US, right behind New York City. Another major factor that really transcended us into this banking juggernaut that we are today is our location. Geographically speaking, we are centrally located in the Southeast. And this really makes us a natural hub for not just banking, but a lot of businesses. And over the last several years, we have become home to several Fortune 500 companies. Our economy is robust. Our unemployment level as of filming this is 3.5%. And I emphasize location because this is something that won't change. So no matter what happens to the economy on a national and a global scale, those in the best location almost always tend to fare the best. There's an added layer of protection. And it's also worth noting that this economic shift that happened in Charlotte really didn't start taking shape until the 90s. I moved here close to 9 years ago, and I can tell you within those 9 years, the city has changed tremendously in terms of population and job growth. Even our skyline is constantly changing. In many ways, we are still a very young city, so we still have a long way to go. Now, aside from banking, our two other main industries are healthcare and technology. Our main healthcare facilities in Charlotte are Novant Health and Atrium Health. And in fact, Atrium Health just broke ground on a massive new advanced care facility. It's even said that once again, it will change the shape of our skyline. And we'll also be opening up a 4-year medical school, which everyone is really excited about. And one thing I want to mention, and I really don't have stats or sources for this, but I'm speaking from personal experience as a realtor who specializes in helping people relocate here, is every year at least a handful of my clients that relocate here still hold jobs in either New York, DC, other major cities, and they work remote because the cost of living here is just so much more affordable. And you will hear it all the time, the quality of life here is it's better. We are constantly ranked in the top tiers for US cities. So we rank number 8 in the terms of cities with the fastest growing GDP, number 9 in top cities for young professionals, and to cap it off, the latest US News and World Report ranked us as number 8 in terms of best places to live in the US. There really is a reason why over 100 people a day move to this city. I have lived all over the US. I say this all the time. Charlotte has been by far the easiest place that I have ever moved to in terms of just acclimating and just feeling comfortable. It's just a really great city to relocate to. And all of this, I think, is a big reason that our housing market is as strong as it is because we are still in a strong seller's market. So let's talk housing. As of filming this, the median home price in Charlotte Metro is $392,000. And contrary to what the news headlines say, we are really still in a strong seller's market. So I always like to prepare my out-of-state clients for when they move here. Real estate is hyper-local. And when we are talking on a local Charlotte, North Carolina basis, you will still likely need to be competitive with your offers. So before visiting Charlotte, I always set my out-of-state clients up on online home searches. And this way they can get an idea of what areas they like, what they can expect in their price point. And even though, they're seeing homes in their portal or on Zillow and Redfin, I always make sure that they don't get their hopes up if that house is not on the market when they come to tour homes. Unless they're planning to come within a week, don't expect for houses to stay on the market for a long period of time. Correctly priced houses in Charlotte, North Carolina will still go under contract pretty quickly. And even if it's a little bit overpriced, most houses won't sit on the market for any longer than 2 weeks at the max. Just prepare yourself for that if you're coming here and you're ready to buy a house. We also have a wide range of different types of housing in Charlotte. In Uptown, you're going to find really modern, sleek condos with resort-style amenities. And we also have townhome communities throughout the Charlotte Metro as well. On average, a condo or a townhome in the Charlotte Metro will run you about $335,000. Now, you'll of course need to factor in your HOAs with condos and townhomes. And I actually just had some out-of-town clients visiting from up north last week. And when we were looking at townhomes, they were really shocked at how low our HOAs are compared to what they pay up north. Now, the fees will vary based on the complex, but on average, expect to pay $250 to $350 a month. But of course, it will be higher or lower depending on how many amenities the complex has. Now, as far as single family homes, we have a wide range of different styles. The majority of our newer houses were built post-2010 are in pre-planned communities. And these type of houses, I would say, probably make up the bulk of our residential real estate because once again, we are a new city. You'll find these houses will have a transitional or a craftsman style design. You'll have big open floor plans with big kitchens. And most of these subdivisions will have a clubhouse, a playground, and a swimming pool. And you'll especially find a lot of these neighborhoods in areas like Matthews and Huntersville, which are commuter towns. And they're about 20 minutes from uptown Charlotte, so not too far. We also have some really great amenity-packed neighborhoods like Highland Creek or Berwick. And here you'll have several pools and several amenities. And I find a lot of my out-of-town clients who move here, especially those with families, really like these amenity-packed communities. It's a great way for their kids to make friends, and they have a lot of neighborhood events. And they're especially great if you're just moving here and you really want to meet people. Now, the downsides with homes in these pre-planned communities is they're going to, more often than not, going to be on a very small sized lot. Most of these homes will sit on less than a quarter of an acre. And you can always pay a premium for a larger lot, but they're so far and few in between. So if a small lot size is a deterrent for you, or if you like older homes with maybe more charm, focus in on neighborhoods like Madison Park, Raintree, Sardis Woods. The houses in these neighborhoods were built between the 1950s and 80s, and they'll have a lot more character. And aesthetically, these neighborhoods are going to have more mature vegetation. You'll also find an influx of houses built between the 1950s and 70s, especially closer to the city. Neighborhoods like Windsor Park, Clanton Park, and Eastway are great for young professionals. These neighborhoods are located close to the city. They're typically more affordable and smaller. So you'll find a lot of brick ranches, and a lot of them will be just a little bit over 1,000 square feet. But the really great thing about these houses in these neighborhoods is that the lots are very sizable. Most of the lots will be a third of an acre plus, and they're flat. So we see a lot of people coming in and either expanding on these houses or even demoing them and rebuilding. And you'll especially see a lot of this in neighborhoods like Camp Green, Seversville, and even parts of Plaza Midwood. Now, these areas have seen a lot of niche builders come in and either completely flip or demo and just rebuild the houses on the lots. And they're really quite beautifully done. Now, the price tag will obviously get steeper when you are looking at some of these flips or teardowns, but you're getting practically a brand new house on prime real estate. And if you're looking on the higher end, you'll want to focus in on neighborhoods like Dilworth, areas around Lake Norman, places in South Charlotte like Myers Park or Piper's Glen, just to name a few. And if your goal is to find a house with more land, you'll have limited options within the 485 Beltway. But it's not impossible, but the farther away from the center of the city you get, the more options that you're going to have. And lastly, there is lake living. So we have two major lakes here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have Lake Wylie and Lake Norman. Lake Wylie is partially in South Carolina, while Lake Norman is entirely in North Carolina. And the neighborhoods in these areas that I'm listing are just some of the neighborhoods, and there are so many more. So if you would like to leave me a comment, I'm more than happy to send you an actual list of neighborhoods that fit your criteria. So now let's talk schools. So in Charlotte Metro, you have several options as to where you can send your kids to school. You have public schools, charter schools, private schools, and magnets. And when it comes to schools, as realtors by law, we are only able to provide you with data and resources. We can give you the rankings and the statistics, but our license prohibits us from telling you if a school is good or bad. And to be honest, even if I were able to tell you, I wouldn't, because that would be my opinion. And where your child goes to school is a big and personal decision. And in my vast experience helping families relocate to Charlotte, I have learned that people have a very different idea as to what constitutes as a good school, because the best test scores aren't always the most important to some families. So I'm going to tell you the best course of action in determining what the best school will be for you and your family in the Charlotte area. Now, first, you're going to want to do some online research. Nces.ed will provide you with statistics. Nces.com and gradeschool.org will also provide you with statistics on schools, but they will have ratings and parent reviews. I'm going to link all of this below. Now, you're going to want to take all that information with a grain of salt because you're going to want to do some additional research. So join some local forums on Nextdoor, Reddit, and even community Facebook groups in the Charlotte area. Ask questions, opinions on different schools, different areas, and then compile a list of schools, questions and schedule some tours. Take your list of important questions to ask the admin and teachers about any academic or non-academic concerns that you might have. And this is going to be the best way to determine what school will work best for you and your family. I work with a lot of families who relocate here, and this really tends to be the best and easiest course of action. So now that we've talked work and school, let's talk recreation. So when I first moved to Charlotte, I was actually a little concerned about not having a lot to do, but I was luckily really mistaken. And I love recreation. I am your girl if you want to talk about having fun in Charlotte. And the one thing that I really love about this city is how it's laid out. So the majority of our shopping and going out districts are all within about 10 minutes of each other. Nothing is too sprawled out or far away. And there really is something for everybody, regardless of what your interests are. So if you love the outdoors, we have a lot of parks, and a lot of the parks are connected by greenways. And we have miles and miles of greenways. It makes for really great fun exercising, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it is fun. We also have some really fun lakes, Lake Norman and Lake Wiley, which I mentioned earlier. And I actually just visited the Latta Park Nature Preserve for the first time last weekend. It's this really beautiful public park right on Mountain Island Lake. You can bring your pups. I highly recommend it. It's a free park. It's a lot of fun. We also have the Whitewater Center, which if you've seen any of my other videos, I feel like I talk about it all the time because it's just such a great time. We also have sports culture, which is huge in Charlotte, and I'm not even a big sports fan, but it is impossible to not have a great time when you're seeing the Panthers or the Hornets, and even our smaller teams like the Charlotte Checkers. And for the more cultured, we have museums. We have a lot of fun museums. We have the Charlotte Symphony, the ballet, and we've hosted some really magnificent off-Broadway plays as well. But by far, in my opinion, the best thing about Charlotte in terms of recreation is that we are located in a prime spot for quick trips. So we are about an hour away from the mountains and only 3 hours away from the beaches. So you can do some really fun and quick day trips or quick weekend trips. And you can actually take a look at this video that I'm linking for a little bit more about the entertainment in Charlotte. And wrapping up with just a few other things that you'll want to know before moving to Charlotte. As far as transportation, we are a driving city. Although we have public transportation, it's just not really reliable. Sadly, very few people rely on public transportation here. So if you are planning to move to Charlotte and you currently rely on public transportation, make sure you let your realtor know so you can either get set up on a home search close to your job or in an area that's more walking friendly. And I've touched on this in previous videos, but the traffic here is not great. And we are by no means DC or LA, but there is still a lot of congestion, specifically on 74 and the infamous 77 North and South. Our traffic is due in part to our city growing faster than what our infrastructure can keep up with, but also because of a lot of construction. We have a lot of construction, so prepare for road closures, traffic delays. It's really a part of life here and you do get used to it, but I can imagine it can be daunting for someone who just moves here and isn't used to it. Now, on a positive note, we are an incredibly clean city. Anytime someone comes to visit me from out of town, they are always commenting on how clean we are. And it's something I feel like I take for granted because I notice when I go to cities like New York or LA, I'm always a little bit shocked. So we can put that in the positive bucket. We are a really clean city. And if you're thinking about moving to Charlotte, you may wonder about the cost of living. So if you have any questions about that, I actually have a video that kind of runs down the basics of what you need to know about the cost of living in Charlotte. So definitely check that out. And as always, feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Once again, my name is Milena. I'm a local realtor with eXp Realty. All of my information, including my calendar link, is below.